Okay. So the reason why this has become a new, sort of like newly of interest, and you'll see on pages 4, 5, and 6 of your handout, there's a tshuva that was written Tafshin Ayin Zayin just last year, literally a year ago, by Chief Rabbi Rav Yitzchak Yosef, Rabbi Ovadja's son. And it's addressed to Shlomo Ra'anan, who comes to our community every once in a while. Rabbi Shlomo Ra'anan. What does Shlomo Ra'anan do? He sets up small Torah centers in small yishuvim and kibbutzim that are not dati, and he's creating a revolution in Israel where, you know, these all small out-of-town communities are now getting Torah centers, getting shuls. And so the question that arises, you take a look at the tshuva from the Rav Harashi, the Rishon LeZion. It's written, like I said, Tafshin Ayin Zayin, Lechavod Mezakeh Harabim, Mevi Kola Shel Torah B'Moshavim V'Hakibutzim, Kavod Shem Tifarto Shemen Turak Shemo, Harav Shlomo Ra'anan Shlita, Tunuat, Yoshev Rosh Tunuat Ayelet HaShachar. So Shlomo Ra'anan is the head of this organization called Ayelet HaShachar, which sets up small Jewish communities in secular Israeli settlements. So, Bidvar Shalom Rav, Bidvar She'elato Derech HaGaon Rabbi Shlomo Danino Shlita, Rosh Kolel V'Rav Moshav Ya'ara, Hiyot She'yeshnam B'Harbei Kibbutzim U'Moshavim, Asher Ein Lahem B'Yom Chol Tfilot B'Minyan. So he says, you got one of these startup communities where they only have a minyan on Shabbos. During the week, there's no minyan. V'yeshnam Yehudim Shehitchazku B'ikvot HaPi'ilot Shel HaIrgun Ayelet HaShachar. So what you have is that you've got a small number of Jews in these small communities that have become very inspired by this organization, Ayelet HaShachar, which tries to, they do kiruv, really, in these out-of-town Israeli communities. V'chen yeshnam chayalim shemutzavim bebasisim umutzavim she'en lahem minyanim litfilot. And you also have chayalim that are many times in army bases, and what is mutzavim? Some also kind of area where they find outposts. Thank you. That they don't have a minyan to daven. They have to do shmirah. They don't have an opportunity to daven with a minyan. V'lachein rachash libo kedarko b'kodesh lezakot et harabim v'rotze lateit matzlemet video b'veit hakneset b'iro rechovot. So here's what you want to do, Reb Shlomo. What you're proposing is you want to be mezakeh the rabbim. So you want to set up in your shul in Rechovot, you want to set up a video camera, and umisham atfilot yu'uvaru b'shidur yashir l'chol mi sheyirtzeh be'emtzaut ha'emtzaim ha'teknologiyim shel zmanenu. And basically you'll broadcast on the internet, you'll do the live, what is it called, live feed or simulcast on Facebook, what is it called? It's
a live feed.
A live feed. Podcast. A live podcast, right? To anyone who wants, using the technological aids of our time. V'sheilato bazeh ha'im ra'ui la'asot kein, v'ha'im yecholim al yedei zeh la'anot davar shebikdusha, af al pi she'eino nimtza b'makom echad im haminyan, v'ha'im mikri tefila b'tzibur. So your question is as follows. First of all, is it appropriate, is it worthwhile to do such a thing? Can we use this technology to answer a davar shebikdusha, like kedusha, baruch hu, yehei shmei rabbah, guy's all by himself in the moshav or in the outpost, and he sets up his laptop, and he hears someone saying kaddish. Can he say answer yehei shmei rabbah?
It's like joining a shir. They do it.
Yeah, afal pi she'eino nimtza b'makom echad im haminyan. And so he's not at the same place. And also, is it called tefillah b'tzibur if he's davening together with him Shmona Esrei?
It's like a virtual minyan.
A virtual minyan.
No, that's the 10th.
Well, that's also a question. Would he count? What is if there's 9 at the place there and there's 1 here? So that's going to become more problematic, as you'll see
We
momentarily.
do the continuing education, right?
Listen, but listen, I'm worried if I give you this information, no one's going to show up for Minyan tomorrow. So we got to be very, very careful. Just keep it amongst us girls, We got to be very careful about how we're going to let the information out. So, so first of all, I'm just thinking maybe we'll just go through Rav Yosef's tshuva, and we'll look at all of the frontal material afterwards, as we need to. Because, by the way, this is not a new shaila, even though the technology is new, but they've had video hookups, closed-circuit satellite video, that's what it's called, closed-circuit satellite, they've had for 30, 40 years already. And they've had radio broadcasts also for even longer. So this question was asked to Rav Yosef's father, Chacham Ovadia, many years ago. And you have a lengthy tshuva of Rav Ovadia in Yechav Das, Chelek Beis Siman Sameches. I have it here for you. And you'll see that he's mekel, to allow a person to answer to a davar shebikdusha, but not to make the minyan. In other words, there has to be a full minyan in that place, because there's a distinct differentiation between requiring a minyan to be in one place to allow for a davar shebikdusha. So therefore, a person who's in a totally different place, even in a different room in the same house, cannot be mitzaref to the minyan. But if you have a minyan already in one place, then you can have an 11th person. He doesn't have to be in the same room to answer Kaddish and Kedusha.
And he counts as
Say Kaddish?
No, that's the question. Is he allowed to recite Kaddish? What if no one can hear him? So if no one can hear him, then he can't recite it. But if the other people can hear him, as we'll see,
two-way.
it seems like you could. But let's see. So let's take a look at the tshuva. He says, "B'tchila yesh letzayin, ki kol hanidon hu rak lemishu hu anus, she'en lo shum efsharut lahagia lebeit hakneset li'itpalel." And by the way, you can find this PDF online. If anyone, I forgot to print out the URL, but it's online. This tshuva. So he says this tshuva only applies to someone who's an anus, who doesn't have the ability to go to a minyan. שאין לו שום אפשרות להגיע לבית כנסת להתפלל במניין עם הציבור, כמו שכתב בשולחן ערוך. I mean, the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Sadi Siftes says quite beferish, and what is he referring to? So I have that Myra Makom for you. I hope I do. No, it could be I left it off by accident. But basically, the Shulchan Aruch says a person has to make every effort to daven with a minyan, to daven with a minyan. So therefore, this whole shaila is only relevant for someone who mamash can't make it. Ki bavadai demi sheyochol lahagia litpalel b'tzibur ein ra'ui linhokein. V'tzarech lavo lebeit hakneset ulitpalel sham shekein tefila b'tzibur bebeit hakneset ma'alata rabba. There's no question. If someone can get to a minyan and daven in a shul, they have no dispensation to go online and just pull up their laptop in their PJs in the comfort of their own home. As tempting as it would be in a cold January day. V'hinei b'din aniyat amen o kedusha achar shmiat kaddish o bracha b'shidur yashir. Now the issue of answering amen or kedusha, when you hear kaddish on this video, let's say on the Skype or whatever it is long, or answering amen to a live feed. Remember, b'shidur yashir means a live feed. Okay, yesh ladun mitzad daled inyanim. There are still 4 issues that we have to deliberate over. Aleph, shaharei hakol shel hamidaber lichora eino b'diyuch kol hamidaber hanishma derech haradyo. He says the sound of the person speaking is not the same sound that comes out of the radio. or in our case, out of the speakers in the laptop. Ki hakol over derech kli mikani, membrana, v'lichora lo shomim kan et kolo shel hamedaber atzmo. He says this is really a replication, a reproduction of the actual voice of the person speaking. It's an electronic reproduction of his voice, not the actual voice that I'm hearing.
Is that different than when somebody's using a microphone?
Or hearing it.
It's no. I mean, in all likelihood, you're not hearing that person's voice. You're hearing the reproduction in the microphone. It's the same thing.
No, so if you're in the same room as somebody, and like it's Hall, it's not Shabbos, they're in the same room and they're using a microphone, that's a problem?
Well, it could potentially be a problem depending if you have to be Yotze from that a certain mitzvah. Let's say Kriyas HaMegillah. Is the door locked? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Oh, because I think someone's trying to get in. I thought. Oh, no. Okay, sorry. I thought I heard something. So anyway, if you need to hear Megillah and someone's reading it via a microphone, that's a problem because you're not hearing their actual voice. So that's something that we have to take into consideration. But let's just look at the factors first and see what the issues are. That's issue number one. It's not the real voice. Beis, number two. Va'od shaharei yesh merchak ben hamakom she'omrim bo et hakadish lebatim. Ubevada yesh bederach batei kisei umakom hatinofet. Umaran pasak b'simen nun hey shem yesh makom tinofet harei ze mafsik ve'en lanot lekadish u'kedusha. Even though the Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Nun Hey that you can be in a separate location and if you hear Kaddish you're allowed to answer to it, but that's only as long as there's no tinofet, as long as there's no garbage or dung or anything that would preclude you from saying a bracha dividing between you and where the minyan is saying their bracha. But let's say there's an alley dividing between you and the Beit HaKnesset where they're saying the bracha. So the Shulchan Aruch paskins, if the alleyway has smelly material, you're not allowed to answer.
Or all the houses in between with bathrooms.
So invariably, in between the place in Rechovot and your little moshav where you want to answer Amen to the minyan, there's clearly got to be, invariably there's going to be a Makom Tinofet somewhere along the way. So does that create a problem?
Is that what you're measuring, though, or are you measuring where the airwaves are?
Okay, so that's what we got to figure out. This is all, and of course, this all goes through satellite transmission. So the transmission is going up, and then it's coming down to me, so it doesn't go through the smelly area. Right? So that might be an issue. Okay, so let's see. So that's number two. Number three, va'od shaharei asur lomar dvarim shabikdusha b'lo minyan v'hu nimtza yachid beveito ve'ech lomar. Number three, you're not allowed to say a davar shabikdusha like Yehei Shmei Rabbah. You can't, or Baruch Hu es Hashem Hamvorach. You can't answer to those things without a minyan. So how you're alone in your house? How can you say those things, respond to those things without a minyan? And finally, number four, Dalid. Va'od yesh ladun kan mitzadin amen yitoma. Shaharei kol hamidaber magia el hashomea rak achar kama shniyot. Upe'amim yesh hevdel ben sha'at hadibor lishmiya b'radio shel 10 shniyot o yoter. He says, here's another consideration. The Gemara says that a person is not allowed to say an amen yisoima, an orphan amen. Now, what an orphan amen is, there are a number of different interpretations, but one possibility, he says, is that an amen yisoma is when you answer amen to a bracha that was recited quite some time ago. Now here, there's always going to be some time lag from the transmission to the receival. Sometimes it's 10 seconds or more, he says. There's a time lag. So I know that many times when I'm listening to my Sirius XM radio, I listen in the car, and then I go into my house, and then I turn on Sirius XM on my smartphone, and it's like 30 or 40 seconds delayed on my smartphone. So anyway, there's always going to be time lags. So just because it's live doesn't mean it's mamash live. It may be live minus 30 seconds or something. So does that count or not? Is that still considered live? Va'od b'sefer Yalkut Yosef Yomim Noraim gabe hoshomea slichot derech halavyan o haradyo b'shidur yashir. There's a tshuva that his brother wrote down in the name of Rabbi Ovadia, that if a person is listening to slichos, now slichos is a big thing among the Sfardim, they get up really, really early, and obviously Chacham Ovadia got this shaila. A guy says, I can't get to shul that early in the morning, but I can listen to it either through a satellite hookup, closed circuit, TV, or I can listen to it from the radio broadcast. So, a live radio broadcast. V'navi b'ktsirat ha'omer et ikarei hadvarim. So, I'm going to tell you what the ikar of the sort of like the conclusion of those things are. Now, by the way, if you just want to see source number 8, the Yalkut Yosef says, in sort of this synopsis, on page 3, Hashomea slichot v'yigmul midot o kaddish mehashliach tzibur derech haradya b'shidur yashir achar chatzot oneh yud gimel midot ve'amen. Chacham Ovadia said that when you're listening to slichos on a live radio broadcast after chatzos, you're allowed to answer to the yud gimel midos. V'im hashidur hu mehaklata eino oneh. But if it's a recording, it's not live. It's a recording of slichos, like you're listening to a chazan, right, on a tape or on a CD, then you're not allowed to say Yud Gimel Midos. Acha shomea mikra Megillah derech haradyo eno yotze yedei chovato. But if you listen to the Megillah through a live broadcast, you're not yotze kriyas HaMegillah. And of course, what's the distinction between the two? One is a davar shebikdusha. There's no Shomea Ka'ona issue over there. What does Shomea Ka'ona mean? It means that by hearing him, it's as if I'm saying it. Anytime I have to be Yotzei a mitzvah, and through my hearing of that person's recital, it's as if I'm saying it myself, then I can be Yotzei the mitzvah. Where do we have this? Mikra Megillah. We have this for other recitations. What are some of the other examples? Kiddush, right?
Shofar.
Right. Well, shofar, yes. I'm not sure if that's a Shomea Ka'ona over there because there's no aniyah. All you have to do is hear the sound of the shofar. But Havdalah, Shomea Ka'ona, right?
Who needs to be yotze, let's say, a Sheva Brachas and a Chasana? Because I noticed that there are certain Rabbanim who specifically don't put their mouth near the microphone.
Yeah, so l'cha'ora, that doesn't require. There's no Shomea Ka'ona over there. The tzibur doesn't have a mitzvah to say Sheva Brachas. So there's no reason for that. That may be a chumrah, just because that rabbi holds that you need to have a minyan that hears a person say it without any distortion from the mic. So that's why he does it. But me'ikar hadin, that's not necessary. But so when there's a Shomea Ka'ona dikadin, so then you can't listen to a live radio broadcast to be Yotzei because you're not hearing the actual voice of a living person. You're hearing a reproduction of that person's voice. But here, Chacham Ovadia Paskin says, as long as it's not a Shomea Ka'ona, but it's answering to a davar shebikdusha that normally requires a minyan, and you're not present with the minyan, you're allowed to respond to it. You can say even Hashem, Hashem, the Yud Gimel Midos, which normally requires a minyan. So now the question is why. We have to understand what's going on.
So that's why, when they have like Mari or Mincha L'Siva say on Yom HaSmud using a microphone, that's okay.
That's okay. But let's look at the tshuva. So let's look and see what he says. So he says, Hinei le'inyan kol hanishma derech haradyo Hagam de beshut mishpatei Uziel chelak aleph chelak bet uvesefer sharim hametzuyanim bahalacha b'tshuvat hagrach Berlin beshut oholei Aharon chelak bet v'chein beshut priyasada chelak gimel. He says, obviously, there's not unanimity in this issue. He quotes a number of achronim who say, Kasvu lahachmir bazeh shelo lanos amenu kedusha af b'shidur yashir. So there are poskim who say that even with a live broadcast, you're not allowed to answer to a davar shebikdusha, מפני שהקול הנשמע דרך הרדיו איננו הקול הטבעי היוצא מפיח השליח ציבור, אלא הוא קול הבא על ידי זרם חשמלי באמצעות ממברנה. He says, those poskim say that the sound that you're hearing is not the voice of the shots, but rather it's a reproduction that is done electronically through a membrane on the speaker. He says, "V'lichora dami l'shomea mitaklit shel gramophone shebevadai eno ona amen achar birchotav." He's obviously using the language of an archaic tshuva from the late 19th, early 20th century. He says it's like listening to a reproduction on a gramophone. What is a gramophone? It's an old record player, right? So it's like the thing you crank up, the old, what is it called? The Victrola. Yeah. So, in other words, in that situation, he says, listening to an electronic reproduction, even though it's live, according to these poskim, is no different from listening to a recording that's not live, because in both cases, you're not hearing the actual voice of the Shliach Tzibur.
That technically doesn't roll up from a physics point of view.
Why is that?
Because speaking, it's vibration of the air, right? It's the movement of the air.
Yeah.
So you don't hear the voice, you hear the movement of the air, which is a kind of reproduction.
Well, but that's what we call the voice. Halachically, that's what the poskim say is the voice. Here, you're listening to a reproduction done through electronics of the voice.
But what about direct through a microphone?
That's not direct. That's also a reproduction. I could understand if you were to say, what's the thing, the cone, a megaphone. If you had a non-electronic megaphone, that maybe that's something you could argue. But this is not the voice. This is a reproduction. Okay? So this is where Rav Yosef comes in. He says, but I disagree. So does my father. We disagree with that conclusion. Because there is a difference between a recording and a live reproduction. Disham hakol shal hamedaber nifsak mekavar upanim chadashot ba'u lakan. He says, in a recording, the person who recorded that recording is no longer here. He's not standing anywhere in the world saying those words. So this is a totally new thing. Kishahu shomea mehataklit she'eno bar chiyuva v'chafis me'etz ya'anena. Quoting a pasuk in Chavakuk, he says, so when you're listening to a recording, you're not listening to something that is coming from someone who is fulfilling a mitzvah. It's like you're listening to a piece of wood saying words. That's what he says by a recording. Aval hashomeya, turn the page 5. Aval hashomeya meharadyo b'shidur chai, sof sof barur sheba'ota sha'a hatzibor omdim b'makom mesuyam, v'omrim kadish v'yod gimel midot u'chedomeh. But when you're listening to a live broadcast on the internet or on the radio, there is actually a tzibor right now that is saying the words and that you're listening to. In other words, I am aligning myself with a minyan of people who are doing this tefillah. And that's the argument as to why there's a distinction between a recording where there's no minyan, there's no person, versus a live broadcast where I know that they're there. They could be 100 miles away, but there's a group of people there that I want to join together with. Lefichach nireh sherashai la'anoti mahem. And therefore it would seem that he's allowed to answer to them. He's not giving you a heter to say the Kaddish, he's giving you a heter to respond to their Kaddish. Ure'ei sham sheherachnu lohochiach bazeh. V'lo dami lemikra megillah, dahatam ba'inam shomea ka'oneh. Ve'eno yotze yidei chova b'shmiat ha-megillah b'shidur yashir derech ha-radio o halavyan. He says that's the difference. He says when you need to fulfill a mitzvah of listening to someone else recite the Megillah in order for you to be a shomea ka'ona, that his words should be like you're saying it, then you need to hear their actual voice, not a reproduction. And therefore it won't work if it's done via satellite or any other kind of transmission. There's no din of shomea ka'ona. It's just answering to a davar shebikdusha. Does everyone hear that chiluk? You see that distinction that's being made? Okay.
Is there also the shlichus here?
What do you mean shlichus?
The guy in the outpost he's joining with the Minyan in Rehovot through shlichus. Like he's like basically saying, I'm going to go with you. Like it's like sending the shliach to do a mitzvah. Shliach mitzvah. Put a $5 bill in the kotel. Like it's like the concept of shlichus comes in, isn't it?
Not really. I mean, a person can be your shaliach to perform a mitzvah, but you can't appoint a shaliach to put on tefillin for you. You can't appoint a shaliach to daven with a minyan, to daven in a minyan for you. Right? So there are limitations to mitzvahs being done al yedei shaliach. Right? So it's not strictly the issue of shlichus here. V'hinei le'inyan hefsek tinofet. So let's talk about the other issue that I mentioned, which is the issue of smelly stuff in between me and the minyan, right? So, daha bevada hefsek tinuf bebatim bein makom shemishadrim bo l'shomim. There's no question that if you did a Google Maps, a Google Earth scan, there would be plenty of garbage, plenty of toilets in between. Drawing a straight line in between where the minyan is and where I am, invariably there's going to be something dirty. So what right do I have to do this? Hine ayin sham sheherachnu bazel lahatir mikama te'amim. So if you take a look at the original tshuva, you'll see that there's many reasons to be matir. Taharei benidon didan chutei hatelefon gevohim. He says, let's say the transmission is happening over fiber optics or telephone wires. Okay? Telephone wires are elevated above the ground, or they're underground cable, right? And any kind of recording that's done through satellite is going straight up and then coming down. He says, in that situation where the element of transmission is either way above or way below the tinofet, so that's not a problem. The sound is not traveling through those smelly places. V'yesh lahosif od tam. I'll give you another argument. Shaharei hakol mamash over derech achutim mamash ela hazerem ma'avir galim v'hakol nishma rak b'makom shepatuach. He says, when you think about it, there are no sound waves that are traveling out in the open. It's an electronic wave that is traveling, or an electric impulse that is traveling across the wires, not actually a sound. It only becomes a sound reproduction when it gets to the outpost where the guy's radio or laptop is open. And therefore, it's completely, there is no sound, there is no voice that is traveling through dirty places. You understand? It's purely an electronic impulse that is traveling along the wires, but there's no sound. It doesn't become a sound until it gets to its destination. Okay, Urei od b'minhagei hagra katav od svara shekivan she'eno ro'eh et hatinuf shebeino levein hakahal mutar lo lanot. The Gra actually had a big chiddush that even if it was a voice, as long as you don't see the smelly places in between yourself and the origination of the sound, that's also not a problem, and you're allowed to answer. Vehivio hamaharsham. I'm not sure B'das Torah. I'm not sure what that sefer is. Uveshari Rachamim Franco uviyalkid Yosef Brachos v'lachein Shapir Mahani Lanos Amen Achar Shmias Dvarim Shebikdusha Derech Halavyan ve'ein lachush mitzad hefsek tinofet meha te'amim shenitbo aru. So therefore, we've resolved the issue of tinofet, of smelly places dividing between the minyan in Rechovot and the guy in the outpost. V'hinei yesh. So what about the other consideration that we mentioned? You're normally only allowed to say a davar shebikdusha when you're with a minyan. How could you say Yehei Shmei Rabbah when you're by yourself? V'haba'ina lomar dvarim shebikdusha ba'asara. So hinei b'gemara erevin muvu'ar she'ein asara mitzarfim leminyan ela imkein hayu birashut echat. The Gemara in Erevin and in a couple of other places in Psachim and Rosh Hashanah says that you cannot have, or Sota rather, you cannot have 10 people joined together for a minyan unless they're all gathered in one place. They can't be scattered in different places. A minyan, in order for it to comprise a duly constituted minyan, has to be in one place. Uv'tosu sham hikshu mehagmar Psachim peches sheladas Rav tzarich shekulam yihya birashus echas. The Ilu Reb Shua ben Levi sover she'ein sarich shafilu mechitza shel barzel eina mafsekes ben Yisrael avim shabash shamayim. Now, I have the Gemara in Psachim in front of you in your handouts. It's really kedai to really see the Gemara, because it's a Gemara in Psachim. It's source number 1. The Mishnah says, Min ha'agaf ilifnim kilifnim, Min ha'agaf ilachutz kilachutz, va'achalonos va'ovei achoma kilifnim. So, there's a halacha that you have to eat kudshim inside the city of Yerushalayim, right? So the question is, what if you're in the wall of Yerushalayim, or you're in the doorway of the gate of Yerushalayim? So the Mishnah says, from the agaf inwards, where the door jamb is, from the door jamb inwards is part of Yerushalayim, from the door jamb outwards is considered outside of Yerushalayim. So then the Gemara now makes a statement, Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Rav v'chein l'tfila. The same thing is true for davening. So what does that mean for davening? So Rashi says, as far as your ability to be mitztaref la'asara, to join a minyan, if you're inside the room and the door is open and you're in front of the door jamb, so then you could be part of the minyan. If you're outside the doorway, then you can't be part of the minyan. But then comes along, Upliga de Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Dam Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Afilu mechitza shel barzel, Eina mafsekes ben Yisrael la'avihem shavash shamayim. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi disagrees, and he says even an iron curtain cannot divide between Israel to their Father in heaven. So it seems like Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi is saying that if you need to make a minyan, even if you have 9 people in here and one guy standing outside, even with the door closed, you can still have a duly constituted minyan. Now that's not the way Tosfos learned. What I just told you, that's not the way, that's the way Rashi learns, but that's not the way Tosfos learns, and that's not how we paskin. Because we paskin that in order to have a duly constituted minyan, you cannot have 9 people in the room and one guy standing outside. I've mentioned this halacha a number of times in different settings. You know, when this becomes, thank God, in the bayit, it's not such a big issue, right? Because we always, Baruch Hashem, have a robust minyanim. But when does it become an issue? When you're trying to put a minyan together. You go on a retreat, you go on a Shabbaton. So what do you normally have? So you have 10 guys, right? And there's one guy who's got OCD, no, not OCD, he's got ADD. And he's got shpilkas, he's got ants in his pants, and he can't stay in one place at one time. So he's the guy that's always going outside. He's got to stand outside, walk around, comes back in, walks outside, comes back in. Ribbana Shalom, we don't have a minyan if you're going to walk outside. He says, but I can hear everything you're saying, I hear. Doesn't make a difference. You don't have a minyan. If you don't have 10 people in the room, within the walls of that room, you don't have a minyan. And you can't lane, you can't say davar shabikdusha, you're not going to daven Shemon Esrei with a minyan.
What happens in Simchas Torah when you're lane?
It happens all the time.
Guys are going to Kiddush and they're leaving, you're trying to call them back.
Right, it happens in Simchas Torah also, right.
A wedding when you're trying to get a minyan.
It can happen in a number of different situations. So anyway, we're not going to go through all of those halachas now, but you'll see Rav Yosef quotes Tosfos over here. You have Tosfos in your handout, but let's just see how he quotes Tosfos. He says, so what does Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi mean? That afilu mechitza shel barzel eno mafsik bein Yisrael la'avim shabash shamayim. If we require you to have a minyan in one room, so what does he mean? Not to be mitztaref to a minyan, but to be oned to a minyan. In other words, when there's a minyan already inside this room, if a guy's outside and he hears us saying Kaddish, he can answer, even if the door is closed, as long as he can hear. So that's the halacha of this Gemara of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. So let's take a look. So he says, where in my place? Okay, it's the second paragraph on the page. ובתוספות שם הקשו מהגמר פסוחים של הדס רב צורך שכולם יהיו ברשוס אחס, ואילו רבי ישוע בן לוי סובר שאין צורך אפילו מחיצה של ברזל אין המצקס בין ישראל אביהם שבשמיים. So he says this seems to be the machlokas between Rav and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. ובגמרא סוטה משמע דהלכה כרבי ישוע בן לוי, ואילו בגמרא ערבין הנזכר מובאר דהלכה כרב דיבן שיהיו ברשוס אחס. And we seem to have a stira between two Gemaras. In the Gemara in Eruvin, it sounds like we're paskening like Rav, that everyone has to be in the same room. And in the Gemara in Sot, it sounds like we pasken like Rabbi Shua ben Levi, that you can have an iron curtain dividing. So how do you reconcile it? So he says, "V'tirtzu hatoisvus da haGemara be'eruvin medaberes le'inyan lihitztaref leminyan." In Eruvin, where you need everyone in the same room, it's to constitute a minyan. שצריך שיהיו 10 ואם העשירי במקום אחר לא מצטרף למניין. אבל הסוגיה בפסחים לעניין אדם שנמצא מחוץ לבית הכנסת ויש שם 10. But the Gemara in Psachim and in Soto is talking about there already is a minyan inside the shul. He's walking outside the shul and he hears them saying a davar shebikdusha. So in that we paskin like Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, that even though you're not where the minyan is, you're just a single bystander, you're allowed to answer any davar shebikdusha because you're responding to what the minyan is saying. Uvazeh nechluku Rav Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi v'kach mefurash gam bepiskei tois v'sham ulefizeh hashomea derech haradyo hagam she'eno mitztaref lahashlim la'asara. And therefore, even though you can't be part of the minyan because you're not inside the room, so they'll need a minyan without you, but you can answer to a davar shebikdusha whatever they're saying. If they're saying the Yud Gimel Midos, you can respond. And therefore, the argument that Rav Yosef makes is, I know that they're davening him with a minyan and they're saying the Yud Gimel Midos shel rachamim now, maybe with a 3-second delay, but it's still within an acceptable parameter. So therefore, I'm allowed to respond with them as long as they have a minyan in Rechovot. I can respond to them in my outpost. V'af she'haramban sham cholek al ha'toisves u'svir lei shekol shelo nimtza b'rishus echas eino yachol la'anot yud gimel midot u'kedusha afilu b'bayit samuch. He says, now the Ramban disagrees with Tosfos, and the Ramban holds that even to answer Kaddish and Yud Gimel Midot, you need to be in the same room, and there can't, even if you're in an adjacent house, but there's a wall in between, it's no good. Mikol makom haskamat rov harishonim delo Ramban, but we don't paskin like that Ramban. Uvishut be'er Moshe kotev shematza behilchot gedolot aspam shekotvim kamo atosfot v'chach matza l'Rav Acha mishavacha u'laharayvid v'hor zarua b'tshuvat ha'gaonim gam harashba b'tshuva chele gimel Katav kemo hatos, and he quotes a whole bunch of Rishonim that side with Tosas. V'lachein benidon didan mitzad she'en asara yachol lomar Yud Gimel Midot kemo shenit ba'er, and therefore you can say the Yud Gimel Midos from your internet transmission on your laptop. V'kein shamati mimaran av avi Adoni sha'adam hashomeh beveito slichot derech shidur yashir mehalavyan. And therefore my father, Chacham Ovadia, paskened explicitly that if you're in your home and they're saying slichos at 4 in the morning and you can't for whatever reason get there, you can, as long as you hear them on the radio or as long as it's a live transmission, a live broadcast, you're allowed to listen, you're allowed to respond to slichos. V'im sharei la'anot amen achar shmiat bracha u'kadish b'shidur yashir. Hinei b'gemara brachot amru, tanu rabbanan, enonin lo amen chatufa v'lo amen yitoma, v'yesh bazeh dalet shitot barishnim. But we still haven't gotten to the issue of the amen yisoma. Now an amen yisoma means something that the Gemara disapproves of. You're not allowed to say amen to an orphan an orphan amen, where it's not attached in some way to the bracha. So what about answering amen to a bracha that you hear on a live broadcast? Is that an amen yisoma or not? So he says, first we have to understand what the definition of an amen yisoma is. He says there are 4 different opinions. There's number 1, Shitas Rashi, the amen yisoma haina shelo shama habracha ela shama sha'onin amen. Rashi says is that you didn't hear the bracha, but you heard that everyone else is answering amen, so you answer amen as well. Now that's one way of paskening. And by the way, this has applications if a guy goes up and gets an aliyah and no one can hear him.
Except the Gabbais.
Well, so it depends. If there's only 2 people in the whole room that can hear him, so you don't answer to his baruch hu, you don't answer amen to his aliyah. But if a minyan of people can hear him that are nearby, so then you're allowed to answer amen. That seems that's the consensus of the poskim.
The 2 guys up there don't know.
What do you mean?
The 2 Gabbanim that are up there and hear him and say amen, they don't know that no one else can hear him.
Well,
They say amen.
they're assuming that there's enough people around that it's enough to make a minyan. Hopefully, we hope.
Does this apply as well by Baruch Hu? Let's say, it's a packed shul, and the person's out in Marav says Baruch Hu. And you can't
For sure it applies. It applies to any davar shebikdusha. You have to have at least a minyan that can hear him. If you don't have a minyan that can hear him, then it's not a davar sheb, you don't have a minyan.
You hear most of the shul. You don't hear it, but most of the shul.
Most shul hears him, then you're allowed to answer, yes. Next is Shitata Tosfot. So now, by the way, that doesn't apply to our case, because you're hearing the bracha, you know what bracha is being said, but at least we know that that's the first definition of an amen yitoma. Shitata Tosfot, sha'af shelo shamu et habracha, ein ze amen yitoma, kol sheyodim be'ez bracha hashatz nimtza, ve'ez bracha birecho nin amen. Aval al kol panim tzarich sheyidu ez bracha mevarech ata hashatz. The second shita is Tosfos, that as long as, even if you don't hear the bracha, but you know the bracha that he's saying, even though you don't hear it, so then you're allowed to answer amen. That's the way Tosfos learns that whole Gemara in the shul in Alexandria, which was so big that they would wave the handkerchiefs to let you know what bracha they were holding on. So that's why people answered amen. They didn't hear the bracha, but they knew what bracha was being said, and that's why they were allowed to answer amen.
That would apply by a guy that gets the aliyah too. You can't hear him.
But again, you have to have a minyan. You have to have a minyan, otherwise you're not fulfilling the criteria of davar shebikdusha. Shitat ha'meiri b'shem yesh omrim the amen yitoma hainu sha'ana la'achar zman muflag v'chein katav ha'abu darham. So you have the meiri and Abu Darham who say that an amen yisoma is that you allowed for a time lag between the conclusion of the bracha and the amen, and that's not okay. V'huvala halacha b'rama. And that's actually paskined in the Rama. Ubir ha'prima gadim d'tzarach sheyana amen toch kedei dibur v'chein katvu od achronim k'mo moru ketzia halavush makor chaim lagos chavas yoyer ba'od. He says a number of achronim paskin that way. That is, it has to be toch kedei dibur, which is about 3 seconds of the recitation of the bracha. You have to answer amen. Otherwise, it's an amen yisoma and it's not good. So v'hayotze midivreim shein lanos amen achar bracha la'achar shover zman toch kedei dibur misiyum habracha. So you can't answer amen if you have a time lag of 3 seconds or more after the conclusion of the bracha. So, but then you have another shita. You have shitas Rabbeinu Nisim Gon shehuva ba'aruch v'chein hu v'kachu shitat rov harishonim uvahem harif v'harosh Rabbeinu Chanano. But then you have a 4th shita, which is the majority opinion. And v'kach kotfim b'sefer ha'eshkol b'haravan v'od v'chein pasak harambam v'chein tat ha'ravya ha'or zaru ha'ra'a Rabbeinu Pertz Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah Bracha Sham Tosus Ria Chassid Mar Rutenberg Tosus Arosh Aritva Rokech Ha'ma Mordechai V'Aguda Ol Moed HaRashbatz. Right, the Rav Ovadia and his sons as well are very fond of quoting everything they can under the sun. Right, they're very, very thorough, very, very thorough. Ubebeit Yosef Katav Da'achi Amrinan B'Yerushalmi V'chein pasak maran b'shulchan aruch she'amen yitoma hainu b'bracha shehu chayav ba b'shatz mevarech ota v'hu lo shoma'a. So the definition of, according to all of these rishonim, which is paskin and shulchan aruch, is that the only time it's an amen yisoma is that you need to make that bracha, and you're relying on shomea ka'ona to be yotzei that bracha. but you don't hear the shliach tzibur say the bracha, so all you know is that it's time to answer amen. Afal pi sheyodeya eza bracha mevarech hashatz, keben shelo shama lo ya'aneh acharav amen, taharei amen yitoma. So that's what's an amen yisoma. I need to be yotzei the bracha of lishma kol shofar, but I can't hear the shliach tzibur say it. So I'm not allowed to answer amen to that, because I'm trying to be yotzei with his bracha. By my saying amen, I have to be yotzei saying that bracha. So that's where I don't answer amen. That's what an amen yisoma is according to all of these rishonim. V'hayotzei mizeh.
How is that different in the second sheet?
Yeah.
How is it different from
The second sheet, the Rashi,
the second shita
on the previous page.
on the previous page? That was Tosfos.
So we had four. We brought down 4 sheets.
Rashi first.
Right. And that's what it sounds like we just said now.
No, Rashi says right. So the difference is that the only time it's an amen yitoma that you cannot answer amen is if you are trying to be yotzei the bracha midin shomea ka'ona. That's the new definition here. Let's say I don't need to be yotzei. I can make my own bracha. So if I'm not answering midin shomea ka'ona, but that's not answering amen. Let's say to the brachos of the shots in birchos in the chazaras hashatz, I can answer amen even if I don't hear what he's saying. But as long as I know that people are answering amen at that time, then I'm allowed to answer amen. That's the difference. According to Rashi, you would never be allowed to answer amen if you can't hear the bracha. According to this shita, you can answer amen as long as you're not trying to be yotzei the bracha. Okay? So therefore, even if there is a time lag according to this shita, that's not a problem of amen yisoma. So we've solved the problem of the time lag, because if we go according to this majority opinion, it's okay that even if there's a time delay from the transmission to the time that it gets to my laptop, I'm still allowed to answer amen. V'ayin sham b'yalkut Yosef she'erachnu l'hochiach she'af she'ovrim kama shniyot v'af karov l'daka leke bazeh din shel amen yitoma v'shoy lanot amen lechatchila. So therefore I demonstrate in a more lengthy tshuva that even though there may be a time delay, a time lag of many seconds, even up to a minute, it's still okay to answer amen. Okay, so then he says, V'chein haya moreh avi adoni moron zatzal ve'af shamati mipihu kadosh da'af sheyesh hefresh shel kama shniyot bein hamitziut shel amirat hakadish ve'yirgim l'midot levein hazman shenishma afilo hachi onin amen v'yirgim l'midot afar achar 40 o 50 shniyot acharei shenigmar hakadish. 40 or to 50 seconds, Rav Chacham Ovadia was prepared to say. He says, because it's still lemaisa the same time that they're doing it, which is a big chiddush. It's much longer than toch kedei dibur, he's saying, the time delay. Okay, so hamura mikol ha'amur. So let's just summarize, and let's get to the bottom line. Based on everything that we've said, devadai shari la'anot davar shebikdusha, af sheshomea derech halavyan o shar ha'emtzaim ha'teknologiyim. That you definitely are allowed to answer to a davar shebikdusha when you're by yourself, using a voice reproduction based on modern technology. Ve'eino nechshav ki yachid shari mitzaref lanotim hatzibur. You're not an individual because you're allowed to answer to the tzibur, even though you're not making up the minyan, but you're allowed to answer to a minyan that is already duly constituted in Rechovot. V'lekach shashel amen yitoma. V'rak b'dvarim shetzarich latzeit midin shomea ko'ine, kegon kriyas haTorah megillah uchedoime eino yotzei. Only when it comes to those mitzvahs that you need a shomea ko'one to be yotzei, a chiyuv, then you can't listen via the radio, okay, or the internet. Af b'nidon didan mikol makom eino chayav b'kriyat haTorah shehi chovat tzibor ve'eino chovat gavra ve'en kan makom laharich. And in our situation, when you're living in a community that doesn't have a minyan or in an outpost, there's no chiyuv of kriyas haTorah, because kriyas haTorah is only a chiyuv on the tzibur. But if you don't have a tzibur where you're living, you don't even have a chiyuv of kriyas haTorah.
Don't worry about it.
Umikol makom tov sheyishma kriyat haTorah shelo ya'avru alav gimel yamim below Torah. But nevertheless, you're living in the moshav and there's no minyan. you still should listen to Kriyas HaTorah even via reproduction at least once every 3 days, because you don't want to let Torah go by without Kriyas HaTorah. Okay? So even though there's no chiyuv of Kriyas HaTorah, but nevertheless, lechatchila you should try to hear Kriyas HaTorah at least once every 3 days. V'hinei befrat b'nidon didan shu mitpalel yachad im hatzibur yesh bazeh ma'ala gedola shetei tfilato mitkabelet. He says, now when you're davening the same time that the tzibur is davening in your outpost, right, there's a tremendous advantage to your tefillah. Kimitpalel b'tzibur. It's almost as if you're davening with a minyan. And why is that? Sharei katav maran b'shulchan aruch yishtadel adam li'itpalel b'beit hakneset im hatzibur v'im hu anus rather she'nei yochol lavol beit hakneset yochol yechaven li'itpalel b'sha'a she'hatzibur mitpalelim. Because the Shulchan Aruch paskins that you should daven it with a minyan in shul. And if you're not able to get to the minyan in shul, at least daven at the same time that the tzibur is davening. The katav harama v'hu adin b'nei adam hadarim b'yishuvim ve'en la minyan mikol makom yitpalalu shacharit va'arvit bizman shahatzibur mitpalalim. And the Rama even says explicitly that if you live in a small village where there's no minyan, then make sure you daven at the time when you know that the city next to you is davening shacharis, so that at least you'll get the schar of davening with a minyan remotely. Va'ayin la prichada shekatav dehu davka b'shah shemitpalalim tfilat shmoyna esrei v'lo shara tfila mipnei shota sha'a hu eit ratzon ve'olim kol atfilot yachad. And the prichada says, what are we talking about when we say daven with the tzibur? Try your best to align the beginning of your Shemona Esrei to align with the Shemona Esrei beginning of that the tzibur begins with. That's the best time, because that's an Eis Ratzon. When Hashem comes down and is listening to the tefillah of the Shemona Esrei of the tzibur, he'll come and listen to yours as well. V'chein katav apri megadim v'kaf hachayim v'or achronim v'im kein b'nidon didan debevadai mitpalel tfilat Shemona Esrei memashim ad tzibur sheyesh bazeh ma'ala l'kulei alma. So when you're davening Shemona Esrei, mamish with the tzibur, because you see them, you hear them in Rechovot, and you see them taking the 3 steps back, because you're on the live video feed. So he says, Kedeshu tfilotav mitkablot bevadai adif me'asher yitpalel yachid. That's certainly better. The reason why I had discovered this is one of my colleagues, Rabbi Goldberg in Florida, had this phenomenon. He had this problem in Boca last year with the hurricane, and so he shared this tshuva that this is a good solution. Let's say your power is out. It's dangerous to go outside because there are power lines down. The police are telling people not to leave their homes. So if they can get a minyan mitzumtzam in one place, they can do a video hookup, Facebook Live, let everyone watch the minyan, and you can go on to Facebook and be mitzdarif to the minyan that way. But again, it can only be in a situation where there's an anus. If there's a snowstorm and there's a big blackout, and you can't dig yourself out of your driveway, so this would be a solution potentially as well. The rayon zeh,
but again, within the restrictions that it's not things that are shomei ke'ones. So
provided that it's not shomei
so
ke'ones.
you've eliminated Kriyas HaTorah, you've eliminated Megillah, so Kiddush, Havdalah, all of these things. So therefore, a person who's snowed out, I mean, you can't be Yotze Havdalah by telephone. Then.
Correct.
Would you say the same?
Correct. Yeah.
yourself.
He says you could be Yotze. All right. Please, I mean, to answer you can, but I don't know that you could. According to this tshuva, if it's a midin shomei ka'ona, I don't see. No, but you still need a shomei ka'ona issue.
You just do it yourself.
So you can do Havdalah yourself.
A woman, let's say, wants to hear Havdalah.
A woman can do Havdalah.
I don't know what the heter is for her to listen to it by phone, but if you can show me the tshuva, I would love to see it. V'rayon zeh yesh bo zikoy harabim gadol, v'chefetz Hashem biyetchem yitzlach, v'tamshichu lezakot et harabim, u'lavi dvar Hashem zeh zu halacha la'am shebasadot, u'lamshich la'agdil Torah la'hadira, amen. And he finishes off with a bracha, that this is a big zechus for the rabbim to give them this opportunity to do it that way, and Hashem should give you lots of hatzlacha.
Do the Lubavitchers use this? When they're all over the world and all these far-flung corners and they're like...
That's an interesting
the only
question.
Jew in town, the only Jew on
I
the
don't
island,
know. I don't know if they use this. It's a very good question. I mean, if you're in Kathmandu and you can't get a minyan,
Yeah.
Maybe.
I've been there and I've seen them and they're like, on Shabbos they sometimes do, usually do, that's why they're there. But during the week, they're on their own.
yeah.
So are they using this? Are they hooking up with their brothers in Crown Heights and making minions?
There's a
I
time
don't know.
difference.
I don't know.
So there's an
Well, even
interesting question that's raised. What if when they're doing slichus, it's after chatzos,
Right.
and where I am, it's before chatzos. So am I allowed to answer with them?
Time difference.
With
yeah.
them. So Chacham Ovadia said with slichot it's okay because the din of saying it after chatzos is not an absolute rule, but it would seem that if you're mamish on the other side of the world,
Right.
and they're doing shacharis and it's not zman shacharis yet, it doesn't seem
They
like
think Israel.
it wouldn't seem like you could daven shacharis with them, right? You'd have to be in the
Between
same.
Israel and New York, they can usually find one or the other and work it.
You might be able to work it. You could answer. There's no question you can answer to a davar shebikdusha, but if you want to daven shmona esrei with them, that's not going to work. Okay?
Question, go back
Yeah.
to the microphone. You said before, you can't listen to, it doesn't count if somebody davens through a microphone. You're in the same room, you have a minyan in that room, you can't answer amen to somebody speaking through a microphone. Did I hear you right?
No, I didn't say that. You could answer amen to someone saying a bracha on a microphone as long as you're not trying to be yotzei a mitzvah through that microphone sound. So let's say you have a minyan that's listening to Chazaras Hashatz, and they're hearing it directly from the voice of the person saying it. That in itself, I mean, the reason why we don't use a microphone is because it's difficult to say that you can get 10 people to actually hear the guy saying it from his own voice and not hearing it from the sound reproduction. In order to have a proper Chazaras Hashatz, you need to have 10 people listening to his voice and answering Amen.
You can't use the microphone.
So it would be a problem to use the microphone if no one can hear his voice. It seems that way.
What about
Although-
okay, so my follow-up is, you can't hear, you have hearing aids. And it's the same idea, you're not hearing his voice directly.
Correct.
You're hearing it through a membrane.
That's
You're
right.
hearing
It's a
it.
reproduction,
So
yeah.
how does that work for somebody, an older man hasn't?
It's a very good question. It's a very good question. There are poskim who are makel because there's no other option in that
No other
situation.
option, right.
Yeah,
Because if you take out the hearing aid, you're not going to hear it.
Right.
So you might as well. So they say that if you're listening to Megillah, for example, which is something that you're Yotzei Shomea Ka'ona, you should try to have a kosher Megillah in front of you and say the words yourself while you're hearing the reproduction. And that way you won't have a problem. Okay? Have a good night, everybody.
Well, it's the same idea, right?
Shkoyach.